Namaskar. Welcome to Ek Vartalaap at Arunima Ankuran. Are today's parents spending enough time with their kids? So we are going to have a panel discussion. Our panelists for the discussion today are Mrs. Ankita Phukan, Mrs. Lata Thergaonkar and Mrs. Shuchi Mathur. Warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining in. A word about Arunima Ankuran. This is an initiative for positive social change through self-development. The goal is greater well-being and happiness for all. At Arunima Ankuran, we believe that each person is unique and special in some way, that each person can make a difference, that each person has an impact, and that's what inspires us to keep going. So our time is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to our children. Benefits of spending time with your children are so many. It helps in improving communication skills, building self-esteem, strengthening family bonds, fostering a loving environment, helping them to develop positive behavior and academic performance, and it reduces stress. So the best inheritance a parent can give his children is a few minutes of his time each day. And this is beautiful. To be in your children's memories tomorrow, you have to be in their lives today. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome the panelists, Mrs. Ankita Phukan, Lata ma'am, and Mrs. Shuchi Mathur. Thank you all of you for joining in. We'd like you to introduce yourself briefly before we go into the discussion. We'll start with Ankita. Yes.
Thank you so much, Pragya ma'am, for this opportunity. I am Ankita Phukan and I have been working as a school counselor in Delhi Public School, Bangalore North from May 2017. And overall, I have experience of around 8 years in this field, where I include, mainly working with the mental health of the children and also providing help with the emotion needs, working on the academics issue and behavior. And of course, that definitely involves in working with the parents also. And definitely, this is my second time in this program. So thank you so much, Pragya ma'am, for giving another opportunity.
Welcome. We'll go to Lata ma'am.
A person who loves maths, and I have a feeling that especially at the primary level, we must make the children love maths, which has been my endeavor throughout, and I have been writing maths books. And as the preface for my book says, that I wish everyone would love to, go through these books and invest in them as much as I have enjoyed really putting them out. At the moment, I reside in Nagpur by myself, and I'm the chief advisor with Sandipani school as of now.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, we'll come to Mrs. Shuchi Mathur. Yes.
Yeah, so I am an educator, and I started off teaching in a international school in around 97, and that was the time when technology was being introduced in schools. It was that time we only had computer labs where children would go and do something on the computers. But in actually merging technology or using technology to deliver classroom teaching was a new thing, and so that is what I joined. And I made there were lots of different innovative programs that we had to come up with ideas and so it was very interesting doing that. And again, I had very young children, and it was a corporate job that needed a lot of time, so I shifted back to teaching, but this time in an engineering college. I've started my own venture called My Neve Innovations. Thank you.
So thank you. It's such a privilege and honor to have all of you here. The topic, like we all know, is something we have all had to touch in real life in some way or the other, because we are all living in families. And I think we'll give the start to Ankita. She happens to be a psychologist, and I'd like to know what is her perspective on this. What do you think is the importance of parents spending time with their children? Parental involvement, if you want to call it that.
So when we talk about parental involvement in children, it is something extremely very, very important, I would say, because children learn what they see. I think as a parent, no matter you tell that do this, do that, but if you don't yourself follow, the children will never learn that. Be it the moral values, be it, the family, how we connect with them, how children are expressing their emotions, whether their habits, their punctuality, the time management, everything, because of very basic years and towards onwards, like even if a child is in school or even in college, the child is the first source of learning is always the family. So I think family's involvement is very important. Children learn what they see, what they experience.
Yeah, that's precious actually. And for all of us, who just think that there needs to be one significant other, one constant person providing security, building trust for the child in the early years. So, ma'am, what is your take on this, and what do you think about the quality of time as well as the amount of time?
Uh, I somehow personally, I mean, that's my personal opinion. I really don't believe in this quality time thing. I mean, I think the amount of time you spend also is important. For the child, maybe the child is doing something else. The mother is busy in the kitchen or doing anything around him, that itself also adds to his, sense of security. He feels, that he's surrounded by someone who is interested. What today is happening is parents may be in the same room, but they're totally switched off because they're only in their phones,
Yes.
online.
Yes.
You see, that is the problem. You may be there, but they're only there physically, but not mentally. It's not like that. I feel, there's a little girl had written a very sweet poem about, I want an offline mother. In the sense that she says, my mother is all the time only on the phone, online with somebody or the other. And she doesn't know what I'm doing, or she's not interested in what I'm doing. And the child is feeling very left out.
Right.
So it was very touching, that I want an offline mother. So, I mean, of course, it is difficult. And today's girls, I would say young mothers, are so well educated and they're so well qualified that, I mean, that they should sit at home only is really not being fair. But then somewhere we have to find a balance, basically. That's it. And for a very young child, I mean, in the first year or year and a half, the mother is actually the most important person for the child. And of course, all other family members too. So basically, parents, and if they are lucky enough to have grandparents in the house or whatever, if they spend time with the child, getting interested in what the child is doing, what happens is you just leave the child to their own devices. When he wants to tell you something, also the parents don't listen. Oh, acha, theek hai, baad mein batana, or something like that. So the child wants a lot of your interest, your focus. That unfortunately is anything. And like Ankita said, of course, values are very important. And as we always say, values are caught. They are not taught. They can't be taught. The child sees what you're doing and follows that. So setting good examples and, especially loving your child, like that little slide that you have put up, you have to be in their life today if you want to be in their memory tomorrow.
Yes.
And, their little joys and all, don't be, contemptuous of them. They are very important for the child. So little things like he said, and so said something, you also take interest in the. You may think it is all foolish, but for the child it's very important and it's very big. To be connected with the child, when the child becomes a teenager and you want to build bridges, it's very difficult. It's very difficult because you haven't got that, opportunity with the child when he was little.
Right.
So do it, and then as a teenager you say, "Oh, तो मेरे से बात ही नहीं करता." जब उसको जरूरत थी आपने तो बात नहीं की ना. So it's very, very important to spend time with him, definitely.
I think taking off from there, as someone who has been juggling work and home and has two very successful grown-up boys, what would you like to say, Shuchi?
Yeah. So the one thing that I would like to add to it, there are 2 points actually. One is like you said, there was a time where I was working and I was really hard pressed for time for my children because whole day you're out and So what I did was, I actually sat down with the boys. They were very young, and we had bought this Time Life books cassette. So there are around 24 books in one and another. So we had around 40 lovely books. So we had a resource, and then we decided a dedicated time for the boys. That was just before they went to bed. We would spend around half an hour to an hour with one on either side of me, and we would read, and we were learning, because these were not just storybooks. So Time Life, if you have seen those books, they are amazing, because each page fills you in with some new knowledge. And so both of them would finish their work, so it kind of instilled some kind of discipline in them, that they had to finish their homework, pack their bags, get their uniform, shoes, etc., everything ready, and then come to bed with whatever they wanted to read. So they would take their own book and come. It was very difficult for me, honest, because you come back from work, then you are doing the dinner, you just finished the dinner, kind of a thing. So this had to be something like 9:30 or 10 o'clock that they wanted you, and sometimes because you're tired or you have something else to do, it could be challenging. But then that was the thing, that I kept that discipline, and we read for years. So that was something we did dedicatedly every day. So we did not even include my husband, honest. His thing was ki, if you want, you can join us, but we are like the core participants, and we kept doing it. And sometimes Lata ma'am, my younger one would be there with 5 books. And when I would see that, I would be like, oh God, because it is challenging, but at the same time, that dedicated time made them feel very special. So they felt this is the time that mama is just with us. So there were no phone calls. Even if there was a phone call from my mother or whatever, I would tell them, I'll call you back. I have not given their time away. So that was one thing which really worked, because we learnt a lot. Their knowledge grew, their reading habit grew. They got to know, okay, you need to, how hard it is, because I'm talking about my side, but their side was also difficult. They had to finish their things and come there. So that was one thing. And I remember my friends in the building, who were not working, who were homemakers, say that, oh, you're blessed. And I would say that actually it is hard work, honestly. Can you tell us how to do it? One lady had asked, and I told her that, see, so she was a homemaker, but what she used to do is, in the evening, she would send her child down to the garden with a maid. So I said, one simple thing that I can suggest to you is swap, no? So I said, why don't you go? Okay. So she said, no, that is the time I need to cook. I need to make dinner. I said, can't you like juggle that and go? Or swap? You go down and keep a cook. No, my husband doesn't like that. I said, then that's a choice. So, I mean, we can always find ways to, and maybe people don't understand the value of actually spending that time with the child. Going, even if he's just playing in the garden, but if you are around, it's a different thing. The maid is around, her language itself is different. The way she speaks, and the child picks all of that up. And he also knows that, for you, it is more important. Mommy's cooking and she's not coming down. So there's some things that I don't know. I think they're common sense that we can pick up when we sit down to think what to do with our child. But making them feel special, giving them that time, I think that worked very well for me. Because, of course, we had a dearth of time. But yeah, that's all.
So, from this first-hand experience that we just heard, Ankita, what is your takeaway? What are the things that parents would miss out on doing if they did spend enough time with the child? For example, inculcating a sense of discipline, maybe. Let's hear your views on that.
So, ma'am, I'll begin with how the parenting have changed. What I can see as a psychologist and from my childhood, So, when I look at the memories when I was a child, or even how my friends or people around me, for us, the moral values were something extremely important, which, what our parents wanted us to follow, they also did exactly the same thing. Like if they want us to tell the truth, always they also made sure that they always tell the truth. And whenever, like, if there was times when I lied or didn't follow the moral values that were taught, I definitely got the consequences, where I was taught that, see, if you don't follow the certain rules, if you don't follow the moral values, these are the consequences, which was a learning to understand that, okay, why I need to correct myself. I'll share this experience. So I think I was in class 2 or 3. I don't remember. I went to my, the garden where we had vegetables, and I entered my house, and it was always everywhere mud. So, like, what my mom did, instead of cleaning or just scolding me, she taught me this. Like, since you have dirted this, you are supposed to clean. So that was a learning for me, and it became a responsibility that next time, be it the same thing, or be it even, after eating something, it's always that I need to follow the cleanliness. And also, if you talk about the value of money, like whatever, of course, I know my parents, whatever I wanted, they could have given me easily, but they made sure they didn't do that, so that I learned, the value of money. Everything I had to earn, even when it come to punctuality or even time management, it was always taught. Like, it was not only just as a lecture, but like, if it was an experience. Like, there were time, because the first school which I went, it was very much near to my house. And there were many days when, because it was near my house, I would get up late. So my mom, what she did, instead of calling me every time, she gave me the responsibility, why don't you put an alarm yourself, and you get up and be ready by your own. So by that, initially it was a struggle, but I understood, I learned it. It was not an easy, but it was a way where I learned it. And even when it comes to the moral values, or even when how you connect with the family, or even the basic, the kitchen rules, like after eating, keeping your plate and own glass in the kitchen, helping mom in the household work. So this was something which I had been brought up in, and I have seen my friends and everyone, bringing in the same environment. When I look at today's parenting, unfortunately we see this, but in only some of the families. What I see in today's children is, the children get the things very easily, okay, whatever they want. And even if they, after eating something, a biscuit packet or a chocolate, they just throw the wrapper here and there, even if the dustbin is right in front of them. When it comes to speaking, okay, like, how we were taught, like when it's a elder, there are certain way how you speak. So today what I see in some children is, they don't speak in the same respect, same respectful way. So, of course, when we talk about today's situation, the parents, especially when we talk about in city life, yes, both the parents are working. Where, they're so busy in, looking up at the financial thing, or, making money, that actually where they should spend the quality time with the children, emotionally being involved with the child, asking how was your day, who are your friends, rather than that, they just give the mobile. Like as Lata ma'am was saying, like very beautifully a child wrote, oh, I want an offline mother. So rather than spending time, what I see parents is like, okay, because they're also tired after their work, they just give the phone to their children or their tab, or spending time, they, according to them, it's like, going out in the mall or taking them for shopping. So that is where I think it's a difference has come, where I think, the parents of today, they have to really rework on that, how actually it's very important to, be involved in the children. It's a thing. And also, what we see today, there's a lot of exposure to social media, and almost every, though they are not supposed to, but they use. And there's not much of monitoring, which I feel, because in our times, though we used social media, it was, or whatever we watched in the screen, it was always being monitored by the parents. Today, where somehow I feel the parents are not monitoring, so which is again a very drawback, how the child is growing in the emotional development.
Yes. I think that brings out a very important element of how the presence of the parent is playing a very big role in how the child is growing up, the quality of inputs
Yes.
that the child is receiving. So to
Yes,
say,
because it's not only physically, it's emotionally they need to be involved. Yes.
yes, and it's not enough to hire someone to take care of the physical needs of the child, because the child who's growing up needs much more nourishment, physical as well as psychologically. That child
Yes.
needs to be developing. And what are some suggestions that you could make to parents?
No, I mean, I would talk from the point of view of the teacher, which I have been for a very long time also. You see, what I find that today's parents talk very disrespectfully about the teachers in front of the children. When my children were in school, if they came home and said, that teacher scolded me, I would definitely ask them, what did you do? Why did the teacher scold you? You must have
Yes.
done something in the class. That is the
Yes.
first question as a parent. Today's parents don't ask that. As soon as the child says, teacher scolded me today in the classroom, they'll say, ऐसे कैसे करा? मैं कल आके देखता हूँ तेरे टीचर को. See, what message are we passing? I mean, it's really, really sad. Because if you don't respect the teacher, the child is not going to do. And in the process, they don't realize they are harming their own child. Because having respect and for figures of authority is very, very important for any person in their life. Whoever the figures of authority could be anybody. I mean, like they're of course elders at home or teachers or outside. Like you were doing this lovely series about the policemen on the duty. They're figures of authority, and we need to respect them.
Yes.
And this is being eroded because of the way the parents are reacting. What are they teaching their children? I mean, it's very, very sad, in fact. And of course, this year has been particularly challenging because the children for the last 2 years have been away from, like proper interaction with their peers and all this online business. And like Ankita mentioned, that really they were not monitoring at all what the child is, because see, for the online classes, the child had to have a smartphone. Now, once the child has that, what all is he accessing? The content that is being accessed was really, really, I don't think it was appropriate at all. And now, when the children have come back, even children of class 4, 5, and all are using such abusive and bad language.
Yes.
Whereas they cannot know these words from parents or at home. Obviously, they've just been accessing whatever was, available. So it's very sad. This year, especially, we're facing a lot of behavioral issues because of this. And that I will definitely, really blame the parents, because the parents were at home, but they were not monitoring. Most of the parents, at least one parent was at home, definitely, during these 2 years. So, what were they doing? I mean, they're only looking at the child studying or something, and they'll come and join the class and ask some question in between, which also is not, it's not the decorum of the class. So you don't teach them any manners, you see. And another thing I'm very, very upset about is that when I see these young girls, young mothers rather, they will have a child or two with them on the two-wheeler. They will just break the signal, red light, tod ke aage jana hai. Now, what are you passing? What's the message being passed to the child? That it's okay to break rules, you follow them. Tomorrow, when you tell the child that, see, every day you have to study for 2 hours, why will he follow? He's learnt that there's no need to follow rules. You see, they don't realize the kind of message that goes to the child. It's really, maybe they don't give it a thought. And the other thing I feel is, spending time with children or parenting is not a priority for them. It needs to be.
That's very important.
They're so busy in other things, socializing, and of course, the internet has made it really. The mother is only interested in if she's put something on Facebook or wherever they put these things, and how many likes have I got on this, and I mean that they go into depression if they don't get a certain number of likes. Ridiculous. So the point is, they're laying stress on things which are really, really not important. They don't prioritize their children, unfortunately. I wish they would understand how important it is to invest in time for your children and, other values which you like. She says that you have to see that you are doing the same thing. You tell the child to tell the truth. And then when the phone call comes, then unko bata dena, Papa ghar mein nahi hai. Papa ghar mein nahi hai. What truthfulness? How can then child really learn truthfulness? So these things, they don't seem to think about them. The silent messages that go on to the child.
What ma'am just said, it's beginning to sound like it's not enough just to be spending time and being physically present. You have to be involved and engaged with the child. What exactly are you doing and what are you? Sometimes maybe your absence is better. If your presence is getting them to, learn stuff that they shouldn't be learning, then so the next thing is, this sounds like a very outlandish idea, but sometimes I feel like you need a driver's license, you know. Importance of parenting doesn't dawn on a lot of parents for a very long time.
Yes.
हम पेरेंट्स बन गए तो हमारा कुछ नया रोल है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. It means curtailing a few activities. So, some kind of a license. You need to earn that license before you become a parent.
In class 11 and 12, we should have a compulsory subject called parenting. Because हमारे देश में कोई कुछ job करे ना करे, everybody is becoming a parent. So that
exactly,
there is something to learn. That they need to learn that
Right.
there is some such thing as a parenting which they need to know about.
Thought of कच्ची मिट्टी है तो उसको हम कैसे mold कर रहे हैं? Yes, please get in, Shuchi.
Yeah, I wanted to add to, another perspective to the time that we were talking about, the time that we spend with the child. It is also about, I have seen lots of mothers who, almost take pride in saying, ये तो कुछ खाता ही नहीं, my child doesn't eat. और उसको जबरदस्ती खिलाना पड़ता है, etc., such. Now the thing is, you need some time and patience to teach him how to eat, so you don't give that. So there are many such activities, which need your time with the child. You need to, like I remember with my elder son was 3 and we were invited to for dinner someplace. And so when we were sitting down, we asked, like, he sat on a chair, like with a plate, and the family was very intrigued. They were like, "Acha, ye apne aap kha leta hai?" Huh. And then they served whatever, some rice or something, and this child was sitting and eating, and they slowly, they were. It was like something to see for them. They were coming. They were coming. They were watching. Acha, Minak, apne aap kha leta hai to. This is Sarah Khali. But then they were so surprised. It's like, first of all, he has learned that he needs to take on his plate how much he is going to finish, what he is going to eat, and he will eat by himself. We are not going to help him with that because that is something he's doing every day at home, no? So there is nothing new. But yes, it takes time to get to that place.
Yes.
It is easier to just stuff. I have actually seen one of my cousin do that, holding the child in a lap, using one leg to see that he cannot escape, and so you finish off that. You need to give time. You need to understand the child's likes, dislikes. Talk to him about it. Why don't you like this vegetable, or why aren't you eating this? What is it? You can teach him so much in that.
And not in front of the TV.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So actually that is a time for your child. Sit at the dining table and do it. So that he understands, the importance of a dining table, the mat, the plate, the spoon, everything, and how to use it. And there is some, motor skills also that you are teaching in the process. You're talking about grains, you're talking about dals, you're talking about the nutritional values. That is all that would go on at that point in time. But if I feel that, I have something else to do, which is much more important than this, and I can't give that half an hour to my child's dinner, then I should not also complain about it. Then it is, majority of them will say, khata hi nahi hai kuch, ye. And he's hearing, and you can't say that in the child's earshot,
Yes.
Ye to khata hi nahi hai. So then it's privilege. Main to khata hi nahi hu,
Absolutely.
इधर भागेगा उधर. How come? ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? Like, it is beyond my imagination. I would not have had that kind of patience, but I can have this kind of patience. So you, any case, end up probably, force feeding the child with a lot of trouble. But so there are such examples which are there, which, as Pragya rightly pointed out earlier, that I think, parenting is one of the most important jobs that you do in your life, and you don't know about it.
Yes.
So if these small points, even the pointers that we have come up with, if we could kind of jot it down and give them like a manual, maybe they would think about it. So
If they take the
again,
trouble to read it.
true. So no, we can't really do much about that, but at least there are some parents who it's like using the right tool. I can cut an apple. If nothing, I can use a spoon and try and cut it, but it will not do the same job that the knife would. So one needs to understand that. And as ma'am had rightly pointed out, that once they come to their teens, they say, "Abhi meri sunta hi nahi, what to do, ma'am, now you tell me what." So it's too late. You have to be, I'm just saying that you need to prioritize. It's just a matter of priority.
So
Yeah.
being
Another
assertive in
thing which
drawing boundaries, I think that idea of drawing
Yes.
boundaries can be very important in parenting as well as in all other aspects of life. But when it comes to parenting, particularly because you're dealing with a human being, and like you said,
Right.
later on, hum baad mein kar lenge, it doesn't work. You have to do it at the
Very
right
limited
stage.
time. Very
Yes,
limited time with them.
yes.
One
Ankita,
more
you.
thing I'd just like to add here is that, what is happening with both parents being really busy. I mean, maybe there are some reasons which they really do need to work. Fine. But since they feel guilty about not being able to give time, instead of time, they keep on getting some gifts or some, presents for the children, something which is, finally,
Yes.
that doesn't work. I mean, the gifts or whatever, they cannot take the place of the time you would have spent with them. And so what happens is the child knows, "Ki main kuch bhi mang lunga to mil jayega," which is also bad for their growth. To hear no is equally
And that
important.
actually translates into a feeling of entitlement.
Yes.
And
And the child must
entitlement,
hear no sometime or the other. No, you will not get this now.
also
That.
entitlement at the workplace. It carries forward.
Yes.
And we have this young generation who comes in, who's like all the time, I should get this, but I should also have been called, but this should. What are you supposed to do? It's so they have this big feeling of entitlement, and it hampers their growth, because we are, as seniors, when we are watching them, we know that, okay, this fellow, he only asks me, mujhe ye, are tumhe, you contribute, you will get it. So it kind of gets
Well aware
transferred.
of the rights, but not of duties.
Not of their duties. Yeah.
Ankita, would you like to come in?
Yes, ma'am, I think continuing with what Shuchi ma'am was telling, what even I've seen, like, many children in school, what happens because they have to get up early, so they sleep early. And, many times what happens, the parents are still working or they haven't come down from the office, so on a daily basis, even when it comes to the dinner time, they're just not able to spend, there's no communication. And when it comes to weekends, so either the parents are taking rest because whole week they have been piled up with work, or just going out somewhere. I think, as continuing, when we talk about dinner time, I think, that is something where everyone is actually in home. Somewhere we have to manage it to do, because if you talk about the work culture also, especially what I've seen in these 2 years of work from home, people are just working for more than 12 hours, 15 hours, not able just give time, which in fact taking a toll on their employees' mental health also. So I think
Yes.
if all the employees, we also make sure we have the assertiveness that yes, fine, I'm giving commitment to my work, but I have also responsibility for my children. And that is where something, even when the work culture will also come into line, that after this time, no, it's your family time, right? And as ma'am also mentioned, even I think the parents of today, their patience level has gone down. I think one of the reason is definitely the technology. If we talk about these videos, the reels or even the TikToks, 2 years there's been so much of screen time that it definitely affects the patience level. And where these parents, where their patience level has gone less, obviously that is being put on the child also, right? Which is definitely affecting the parenting in a very, very, very major way. And I have also seen after these 2 years, when I went to school and I could see in the children, the attention span has really gone down. And even one of the major concern which I felt was, the tolerance level. They just need it. If they don't get it then and there, they just, they don't know what to do. They'll get aggressive, they'll use foul language, they just need it. Which also, it's a very scary thing, which I have seen, is many children, they don't know how to accept failure. Like in our times, I remember, even now, like as I told you, when I see some of the children, the way they have been brought up, it's same which what we had seen in our olden days, and it's everything goes on so smoothly. But there are many children I see who don't know how to accept failure. The moment it's not happening, they are just so restless, they're so anxious. No, and that is something where it's very important in a part of parenting for the children to understand that, the way we want every time, it won't be that way. I think learning failure is also something which is very important, which which the parents should teach in their children. That's the thing.
So, with reference to parenting, this thought keeps coming back to me the more I interact with parents also, that something like driving on the roads requires a license. You need to have a test, you need to qualify the test, you need to learn those skills. And unfortunately, when you are trying to bring up a human being, there's no education, no license, there's no knowledge which is fundamentally supposed to be acquired before you become a parent or any such thing.
Correct.
And parent is something to 24/7 thing. There's like no Saturday, Sunday.
No, that's also true. That's the kind of role. So I guess, it requires a lot of maturity to become a parent, because it does mean putting someone else, a little person, before yourself all the time.
Yes, you need to be really mature that way, understand that level. It's a responsibility of a completely human being.
Absolutely. And it's quite amazing sometimes the little ones, if you have been around them and if you build that kind of a bridge, when they've grown up and you tell them, okay, I'm sorry, I won't be able to give you this time, they understand, because they know now that, okay, time is a very precious commodity, and for them also it has become an important thing by that time.
And
so
kids are very smart these days. That is another thing. They understand much more ahead what it was previously. Yes,
absolutely. So I think we'll just give everyone a closing remark before we conclude this Vartalaap. Ma'am, we can start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has said whatever. I'll just tell you a little small thing which I learned. Earlier in China, a couple was allowed to have only one child, right? So now when a child is born, there are 6 doting adults, the parents and the 4 grandparents. Because for them, their only son, their only daughter, and they have that only child. So one small little being with 6 doting, and the child doesn't get to hear no. And they found that it was becoming a major issue. Because, everyone is saying yes to whatever, because there are so many people. Focuses on one person by 6 grown people, which was, so it does cause problems. And like I said, it's very important to give the child something, but also to withhold something.
Yes, let them earn what they
want. Yes, they have to earn.
Thank you.
It really helps.
Shuchi, we will come to you.
Yeah. So again, for parents, it's been a very challenging thing. And one takeaway from all of this is that, you will be in a different situation in life, but you have to understand that a child is in your hands for a very short period of time. And you already know, the trajectory, broadly at least, that, okay, you will be working, these are your working hours, this is the kind of family responsibilities you have, etc. So as we draw a timetable for maybe other things or for our children, we should try and prioritize things and see, how can I give more time to my child? That is, I think it can solve so many things. The thing is that we just keep taking each day as it comes, and parents do it without any formal training, as Pragya mentioned. So they go wrong many a times, especially with anger. So if you're angry or upset with your child, you need to frame a sentence and say that I am upset or I am angry with you because, and then give the reason. Because I thought you would have finished your homework by now, as we had discussed. But since you haven't, now we won't be able to go out, or whatever that is. So you need to give that reason. The moment you give you add a because to that sentence, otherwise the child only understands your anger. or that mummy is upset, and he'll try to please you, but or say sorry. But the moment you add because, he understands why you are upset. So he works on the other part,
Absolutely.
Very
you
true.
know, and that solves a lot. So that is another thing which came in very handy.
Thank you for sharing. Yes. Ankita, we'll come to you before we conclude. Yes.
Ma'am, I think parents need to work in team, because what I have also seen in many cases, while one parent is trying to put all the moral values and, trying to upbring the child, there's the other parent who just gives easily. So where this child learns that, okay, no, this parent will say no, but this parent will give everything easily. And the child knows that I will always go to this parent, or like, this cases. And as I was telling, yes, parenting is something which is, you have to be psychologically, emotionally involved with the child, not just materialistically. Okay. And yes, academics is definitely a part, but as parents, your focus has to be that your child grows up as a good human being. That is, I think, the most important, because at later the marks, or that is, no one will remember. What will remember that how much that person, how is his or her behavior, how they communicate with, how much humanity, how the person is. I think that is something where we have to focus. And also I think, like, what one of the concern also which we have seen, I think, older days, and which is still now, I think, when it comes to the things like in doing in kitchen, like the cooking thing, or probably serving the plates, or even after you are done, go and give the plate. In we still, unfortunately, in Indian society, still people feel that, okay, it's the girl's work and it's not the male work, where it's nothing like that. It's a basic, I think, human thing which we all need to learn. So I think that is also something which, as parents, we have to teach, that it is that roles are not just related to one particular gender, but it's one of the life skill, I think, which we all have to work upon and change certain lot of things. Yes.
So I think Ankita has given us food for another discussion also in the days to come. As Arunima Ankuran always believes in sowing seeds of change. So I think parenting is also quite like being a gardener. If you don't water the seed at the right time, if you don't take care of the little plant, it will not grow older. It will not become the big tree that it can, the potential. So to all the parents out there who are listening in, be a parent first. If you have chosen to be a parent, that should be your primary responsibility. Because all the other jobs that you are doing, someone can substitute for you. But I'm not sure there is someone who can substitute for the presence of the parent in the life of a child. So thank you so much from Arunima Ankuran to all of you for being part of this Vartalaap. This is the first of a series that we've started today. So grateful to Lata ma'am, Shuchi ji, and Ankita. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
We enjoyed it as much. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
it was a
yes.
learning process for all of us as
Yes.
well.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
good.
definitely.